the was called Nigeria is a geographic entity.
America doesn't have the same
experience. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, we will have to begin to wrap up, but as part of
we
that
only
process,
just started.
Yes, we only just got started. But as part of that process, let me start with you, Mr. Akirati. Let's move on to the issue of election malpractices. It's happened over the years in Nigeria. If we end up with two strong political parties, APC and PDP, what do you envisage will happen?
Well, I don't envisage we are going to have much of electoral malpractices. I'll give a good example of 1983, during the SDP NLC days. It was a close context that you can see glaringly that this party will win. And because we also use option A for them, it's also helped us a lot. And one of the major problems, I think, our regrets, is not hooking up to that option A4 as an electoral system that can solve our immediate problems. Because immediately you are counting the numbers of those who are queued behind you. You can't go back and falsify the figures. That is number one. Number two, when I talk about marriage of convenience and marriage of inconvenience with regards to NLC and SDP, and now people are coming together on their own to put things together, there will be more vigilance. And people will also have the choice to pick out of the two. And they will police
when you have more political parties.
No, you see, when you have more political parties, that is more reason why you have a lot of ballots that will be shifted at the end of the day. Because when they're about 60 or 50, when they're about 2 or 3, you can easily just cast your ballot for either of the 3 political parties, and it will be counted. That is number one we need to take into consideration. It happens in Ghana. 2 dominant political parties. There are other 2 other parties, but we all know from the beginning that either of the 2, either NDC or ANPP, will surely carry the day.
Okay, let me ask.
Lastly, is the political education, which I think is actually going on now, and I'm happy a lot of people are queuing, even on Twitter or Facebook. People are contributing to what kind of election do we want to have and what kind of political parties we will end up with.
Okay, Mr. Fusika. Do you think 2 political parties, or possibly 3 or even 4, will help to stalemate the issue of
unless it is militarily imposed? We are not going to, we can take me up on it. We are not going to have 2 political parties or 3 political parties that you are talking.
But the mergers are going on.
Forget about the mergers that are going.
You completely believe it will not happen.
No, you said, maybe I'm one of those who I'm not. I wish them well. Let them.
Facts on the ground shows that.
May I? I wish them well. It's their freedom of association to canvass, to come to the public to say we are so APC or whatever or PDP. Then the public to make value judgments and say, okay, do we believe you can make a difference to what we are now? That's for the public to do, and then to try to enforce it. So when we are talking about whether it will succeed or not succeed, we are not. He is looking at it. The journalist is looking at it as maybe they will break up or they will not break up. That's not what we are saying. The question is, so what is in it for me? I'm not a member of your party. What is in it for me as a citizen of Nigeria? What am I getting? And their slogan is, we are coming together to wrestle power from the PDP. Is that my own program? Whether you wrestle power, you don't wrestle power, how is that my own business?
So how does that affect election malpractices?
Election malpractices in Nigeria?
Yes, in Nigeria, if they come together. Let's assume that your
they are together now, they are APC.
Yes, let's assume that we have...
ACP. APC is a headache.
What's the name now?
It's APC.
It's APC.
It's APC.
Yes. Now,
Progressive Congress.
Now, if we have this merger and it works and they come together,
works in what sense? When you say work in which sense are we using
they
it?
They deliver, as
candidates.
we say in Nigeria, they deliver the dividends of democracy.
Let me ask. They cannot. They are incapable of doing that.
Let me.
Maybe individually they were not.
Okorocha.
Now as a
group.
Okorocha. Yeah. Do you know how many parties he has been in this country? It was the app guy is gone into now. It was because he could not get tickets. That was why he crossed over. That's why I'm telling you, unless there's a decree that says it's going to be 2 parties, and which is not necessary.
We emphasize too much on personalities and not institutions. That's our problem. We are not building institutions. We talk about people.
No, you are saying you are the one saying no. You are the one saying that it will work.
Yes.
I'm saying it cannot work for Nigerians. That's number one. Number two is that we are not going to have two political parties in Nigeria because these politicians, they are greedy, very greedy. They don't think about Nigerians. They think about themselves alone, where they want power and so on and so forth. So if, for instance, they are coming to say, okay, two of them are competing for a particular position, and one loses out within the primary of their party, which is never free and fair anyway. Some godfather will impose it, and so they will leave. The other person will leave.
There will still be malpractices.
Yeah. Of course, there will be. Okay. The system is built on malpractice.
Okay. The system can be changed.
All right.
By
Let
APC.
me ask Mr. Segun. Let me ask Mr. Segun.
In closing,
In closing, do you think that two political parties or three would help to reduce election malpractices?
Well, I think it's a process in evolution. It's evolving. And I think, as the gentleman said, the journalist said, that it's actually a matter of building institutions and infrastructures that will work. Even if APC were to win the elections and to use the exact same infrastructure that PDP was using, nothing would change. I think, as you were saying, the important thing is the constitution. The framework of existence of this nation has to be looked at. The constitutions we've been having thus far are not constitutions that have been written or have been conferred about with people who were elected, properly elected. Remember that there were constitution drafting committees of which government appointed more than half of the people there. And those are some of the constitutions we are still carrying till today. We need to have a constitution that allows the average Nigerian to exist in this nation without any form of discrimination, whether of age, of sex, or origin. When we have that, we also need to have a constitution that takes us back to regional autonomy, whereby the 6 major groups of this nation are given autonomy of the things. Then we also have to look at the legislative rules and regulations. All those things, foreign service and revenue are the only things that ought to be left to the federal government. Everything else should go to the states. Police and so
Mr.
on.
Segun, I wonder how you intend to achieve this, because this ethnicity
sat
to be
down.
fed to us in our mother's breast milk.
The ethnicity.
So we grow up believing I'm from this state, I'm from that state. So when people are asking for more states to be created, I don't think they are aware that
Gowon started it by creating 12 states in 1967. That is when our problem started. We had 3 regions.
We should have stayed there.
We had 4 regions. We had Midwest, and then the other 3 regions, and then we had Lagos as Federal Capital Territory. It was when we started dividing into states. 12 states, then 19 states, then 22 states, then 26, then whatever it is today, 36 or 37.
People are clamoring for more.
And people are still clamoring for more.
To break up further.
Whereas the EU, which you have today, is talking about integration. When you hold the passport of one of 25 nations, you can enter freely into any of the others. While they are integrating, which they started since the Treaty of Westphalia, I think there's, I can't remember, 1648 or thereabouts. That was when the first coming together of nations occurred. They stopped warring. 100 years war and then 30 years war. And then, you see, why I keep going to the international level is that nothing is new. Everything that is happening in Nigeria has happened in other nations before.
So all we simply need to do from those?
Is, yes, we had learned. Babangida went a long way towards doing that. He got a think tank and he got people who researched other nations, their development and so on, and identified nations like Argentina, and you know, where almost what was happening in Nigeria had been duplicated already. And based on international theory and international relations, you can have an idea of where the nations are going. That's why America told us 15 years ago that by 2015, Nigeria was likely to disintegrate. They were able.
Going to disintegrate.
It is not.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yes,
we
do not want it.
On that note, we're going to have to close this segment now. Nigeria is not going to break up. That much we all know. Nobody wants, I mean, as bad as things are, there isn't anybody who is advocating for this country to break up. We
Nobody-
still want to remain
Nobody
one.
is advocating for it. What we are
That
saying
is
is that
true.
as long as you do not put in place those things that will ensure that we will survive beyond that level, then we are inviting disaster. And
Okay.
nobody wants to do
If you
that.
put
Okay.
our, if
Thank
put
you
our
very
process
much,
together,
gentlemen.
we'll get it right.
We have been looking at the political scene in Nigeria, and we have been chatting with Mr. Yinka Olumide Fusika, who's a legal practitioner, Mr. Femi Segun, a political analyst, as well as Mr. Kazim Akinwiti, who's a journalist. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming
Thank you.
to
It's a pleasure
discuss
being
this
here.
with us this morning.